Good evening. Welcome to Investigator News. And me and William tonight are kind of doing, I guess, the World War III report. And um, last night's show was taken, and we got a way better update tonight with lots of news. And I want to start with Kfar Aza, is the newest place that the Hamas terrorists have hit, and they have found 40 children. Uh, uh, I want to warn everybody, what I'm about to say is very horrific. Children really shouldn't be listening to this. Um, it's just viewer beware. 40 children have been found butchered and beheaded in the kibbutz community, and this was done by the Palestinian terrorists of Hamas. This was reported today, and they've been removing bodies. They are leaving Hamas terrorists that are dead in the streets there. They refuse to touch them. Um, they've also been able to kill two um, potential Hamas political, like senators they've killed, and also an economic Hamas leader was killed. 850
Kelly.
Palestinians are dead. Yes.
So people need to understand that Hamas is not a fringe group. These are people, Hamas was voted in by the people of Gaza.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Um, and this is all in southern Israel, where Kfar Aza is. It's the southern part. And Israel and Netanyahu and others have put the warning to Cairo that if they even consider helping the Hamas terrorists, that they will strike at Cairo. I'm sorry. Um, Iran is saying they're not a part of it, but they are pushing for young Palestinian Hamas terrorists to that they're doing a great job. Uh, Horrible, horrible. And we know that the Ford um, aircraft carrier is on its way as fast as can be. The Ford and the other ships that's with it. So, boy, William, that's really an update I caught for today, but it's very horrible what they're doing to the children. And I was hearing a lot of people saying they're killing the children, and I warned somebody today, and I said, you know what? Until they tell us, it's propaganda. You got to really watch what's coming all over the news, folks. I heard so much propaganda today. It sickened me because it's bad enough, and then we hear about 40 children that are slaughtered, and for them to promote propaganda is just horrific. The other thing that's really bugged me is T-Lob um, in Congress. Um, she has got support of Palestinian, like a Hamas flag out in front of her office at the Capitol. She was seen giving little flags out of Hamas and Palestinian flags to other Democrats, and they were taking them. Oh, I gotta go. William, go, go.
So I'm thinking that maybe her daughter came to the house because the dogs get very excited. She'll be right back. I was really, upset by what I heard about the children being uh, hurt. The reason I felt that is if you're like one child and you're seeing another child hurt, it's worse than even you being hurt yourself. It's such a shock to the system that it's just an overwhelming uh, then we heard from around the world, like in Sydney, Australia, that they were calling for the people of Israel to be gassed. And I listened to one commentator, and he was just appalled by it because he said Sydney is his hometown, and to hear that coming from his hometown is just not acceptable to him in any way. So we've been seeing things that are exceptionally shocking in this conflict. It's only 4 days old. We have so many casualties already, and having people being assaulted in mass. When they're just partaking in a innocent entertainment. They're young people. They all have their lives before them, and then to have their parking lot look like the highway of death out of Kuwait. When the Iraqi or Republican Guard were fleeing, and our Air Force had to stop them before they could retreat into Iraq. It's pretty disgusting stuff, especially considering all these people were just innocent. They were just, they weren't part of an aggressive force or anything like that. It is shocking. And, I think that yesterday our show was taken because we expressed what the the people from Gaza, Hamas, the atrocities they were engaging in, and then bringing that to a proper terminology of what that behavior looked like. And so I described what the behavior looked like in what happened in Cambodia. And I think the censors just couldn't take it anymore because, frankly, I think they're indoctrinated into believing that the people of Gaza are very innocent and they've done nothing wrong. And I'm sorry, but this is just more than even basic terrorism. This is very shocking. Are you back, Ellie?
Yeah, I'm back. And after all of this, and there has been some retaliatory strikes from Israel, but the bloodthirsty jihads of Hamas now say, we want a truce. Now, my opinion on this is no. No, it's gone too far for too long. And is Hezbollah going to be a part of this? We don't know. They're being encouraged. But go ahead.
I understand that they want people to leave Gaza and go to the West Bank. The corridor has been temporarily shut because Israelis have been bombing some buildings near that exit. But as soon as that's done with, then they're going to re-encourage people to leave Gaza and go to the West Bank.
And
for safety.
Volker Turk issued a call for peace, the UN High Commissioner. Israel acts of self-defense in line and siege to Hamas. They say their supporters at Gaza Strip declared a prohibited act Tuesday by the UN Human Rights Chief. They said the sieges that endanger the lives of all civilians, basically they want to restrict any type of movement of from here on out. So it's, the UN almost sounds like, William, that they want a truce. Well, I can understand that, but they have to understand that if we allowed Zelensky to go after Putin and everybody joined in on it with NATO, that we should be taking care of Hamas and Hezbollah at this point.
Well, think that's apples and oranges, uh, because this was primarily an incursion designed to inflict atrocities. And what was going on in Ukraine was designed to actually protect civilians. On both sides, they have different ways of doing it, and I understand there's been some deliberate acts by individuals and platoons, whatnot, that have gone beyond the pale. But what we're seeing here in this incursion into Israel is not like that. It's not a protective action. It's disturbing.
Yeah.
From all points of the Geneva Accords.
And with really, we haven't heard much at the White House, and they're really saying over in, or my reporters are even over in Ukraine, are saying, or is the White House MIA, as chaos is going crazy over there in the Middle East. Now we had Hamas ambushed that festival that was in Shabbat, and they say the death toll since October 7th is about 1,100. More than 100 people have been taken hostage, including Americans. Then, October 8th, a couple days ago, a 6.3 magnitude earthquake hit Afghanistan. And what they're saying is now the terrorist group, they say thanks to Biden, owns Afghanistan, and has stated more than 2,400 people were killed in the quake. And it was mostly civilians that the Afghans wanted to get rid of anyway. In Alexandria, Egypt, a policeman decided after everything going on over the last 2 days, this happened yesterday, a policeman from in Egypt shot and killed 2 Israeli tourists just because. And this was at the Pompeii pillar site.
They also were so incensed by the Jewish people being there and being tourists, they shot the guide as well that was Egyptian. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's irrational.
And then in Syria, a drone strike killed 89 people at a military academy graduation ceremony, including women and children. Nearly 300 were injured. This attack nullified the 2020 ceasefire between Russian-backed Syrian government and Turkey-backed rebel alliance. So you could see that there is chaos going on, and Syria is still going, folks. Just because there's the war in Gaza doesn't mean there isn't a skirmish or a war happening in Syria with the Hezbollah and the United States and others. So there's chaos over there.
Iran sees Syria as the, like the road to paradise, because they can get Hezbollah and other people to gun run. They can fly weapons in, they can ship weapons in, and then spread them all over Southwest Asia. They think it's just, the road to El Dorado.
And now, other thing with Rashida Tlaib, she led away with a statement. I don't even know if I want to read it. She says, I grieve the Palestinian Israel lives lost yesterday, and today I am determined as ever to fight for the future where everyone can live in peace.
Ellie?
Yeah.
I would love to debate her on national TV. Oh, I would love it.
Well, She
She's
said the
gone
path
beyond
to
the
the
pale.
future must include lifting the blockade, ending occupation, dismantling the system that creates suffocating, dehumanizing conditions that can lead to the resistance which it's caused. Um, she said um, that Israel must allow a free flow and weaponry into Gaza and the West Bank. It must end the occupation that is happening. And um, she said basically, let each and every Palestinian, even the ones who are armed to the teeth, screaming death to Israel, enter the country without screening whatsoever, even after Hamas's atrocities. Uh, I could go into what um, um, I Ihan Omar said, or I can. They're just hateful people, folks. And if you are in these states that got these Democrats, and it's not just the squad, there's other Democrats that are falling in line and sending money over to the Palestinians, which goes to Hamas, um, to help them win
Ellie,
this. Yeah.
we've we've sent billions of dollars to Hamas.
Hmm.
They don't have a good functioning sewer. They don't have a good functioning water system. They
Nope.
can't generate their own power. They've just spent all their money on paying the widows and the mothers of suicide bombers and making arms and digging tunnels. They simply don't care about each other. They only care about, you know, getting rid of their neighbor.
Yeah. And these are the same that now you mentioned Australia. It was um,
In
New
Sydney,
York, Australia. There was a couple cities here that Palestinian supporters of Hamas were yelling and chanting in the streets, "Gas the Jews, gas the Jews." Um, so there is
well,
plenty.
we know where that happened last
Yes.
time, right? And uh, how terrible that was. You know, Patton's army came in, and the 101st were the first to get to those camps, and it was so sickening that before they could even enter the camps, they just lost their lunches. They they couldn't go in and clear those camps until they were completely purged of food. They couldn't function. That's how terrible it was. And now these were battle hardened people. These are people that had done the unthinkable to other people that were fighting them, right? Because they were forced to. And then to see something like that where it wasn't necessary. It was just, is more than these completely hardened individuals by this time could tolerate it. And then knowing this over history and still being able to say such things is, well,
Well,
and
they're saying, out of
I'm not a
two.
Jewish person or anything, so I'm just looking at this from the outside.
Well, see,
Um,
I've got my dad told me that my his aunt or my great aunt, her and her family were taken to Auschwitz. So I was told I have Jewish in me. Um, so um,
I think we all have a little Jewish in us,
see, I'm
right?
not. I tried to check into it a little bit, but what I'm gathering is either he was or she was or both were. I'm not. I didn't get the whole story, but um, usually back then that they would, if there was a Jewish man, he'd marry a Jewish woman, or vice versa. Well, it's usually the man that asks. So, but that's what they told me about my family. So I'm a little partial to this a little bit, and it's really, folks, this is really hard for me to watch. And I've seen all the horrific pictures, and they're being sent to me, and horrific stories of beheadings or people being drugged through the streets and rapes and children, babies
I,
being killed and
I'm
butchered.
I'm very frustrated because I can't put into the terms that I know that they should be put in, based on military doctrine what these people are doing, and because I
I'm being
describe what they're
nice.
doing, right, as a force, then our live show is taken off the air when it goes to be, just a recorded show, and most of our viewers come later, and so that was all removed from them having the possibility to listen to that. And we also know that there's quite a few who listen to us that are in, high places of governments. They're gleaning from sites like us how to deal with these situations as they come up, because a lot of these people are attorneys. They don't have a military background, and the
Yeah.
military right now, when they go to tell these politicians what's going on, they don't really have a way to interface well with the civilian leadership, because military leadership is very different than civilian leadership. And folks like myself that are retired and have had 20, 30 years away from our military service, we've gained a way to express to civilians what's going on, and then we can't do it. It's a little frustrating.
The other thing is, um, this was reported by the Israel Defense Forces, or they call them the IDF. So if you see IDF, folks, and you don't really know what that is, it's Israel Defense Forces. That this was an update as of, they say, 2 o'clock this afternoon. The Syrian army has fired missiles towards the Israel occupied Golan Heights. This was Tuesday evening. Uh, uh, there is a number of launches from Syria aimed for Israel and Tel Aviv. They were identified, they say, a short while ago. Part of the launches crossed into Israel territory, presumably fell in open areas. It raises the risk
So,
of, okay, go ahead.
so the Golan Heights is the border area between Lebanon and Syria, up in the north, and it's on the very edge as well of the top of the West Bank. So I just thought I'd share that with the audience so that they knew where this was. It's as far away from Gaza as you can get in Israel.
Yeah. I'm trying to find something here too. Um,
Luckily, that area sparsely
Now,
inhabited.
and they said it was a multi-front assault. Then came an hour of President Biden's speech confirming the U.S. will begin surging defense aid to Israel. The Pentagon has confirmed, a senior defense official said the Pentagon was surging support. It's close to the Middle East, and the response to what the U.S. officials have said, there, there are brutal new tactics they have discovered, characterized in the weekend assault by Hamas militants in southern Israel. With the combined death toll exceeding 1,500, Israel government said on Monday ordered a full-scale siege of Gaza Strip, setting the stage for what could be a prolonged bloody offense in a very small, densely populated Palestinian enclave. And according to the IDF, they have now told those in Gaza and the civilians to evacuate and leave Gaza immediately. So that came out of the Pentagon. That was a
So this is
message.
important, Ellie, that the in military the term siege means that if you stay in that area, we will force you over time without coming into your area, but just literally by starving you out and not being able to get resupplies until you surrender, unconditionally surrender. Now, Israel's being pretty magnanimous in that they're going to let people to leave without having to be escorted, or they've left a corridor to the West Bank so that if people want to leave that area, they don't have to be part of this war. Now they're going to have to leave their things behind, but at least they have their lives.
Mm-hmm. Um,
So that's what a siege means, is basically surround your opposition. In the medieval times, it would be like a castle, and keep assaulting that castle until it fell. It's even in the military, there's called the Masada plan, and Rome attacked this hilltop part of Masada until they built a ramp so they could bring up their siege engines right into Masada, and they got the people to surrender. And those who wouldn't surrender, what made Masada so important is they, rather than surrender, they were willing to jump off the cliffs to their death. But still, it's the Masada plan is to engage in a siege.
okay, now this is updated, the same update. The Israel Army reported and issued an order for citizens to evacuate the Metula settlement, which lies just along the northern border of Lebanon. After this salvo, some 15 rockets were fired into southern Lebanon in a suspicious Hezbollah operation. Boy, William, this is something. In response to the launches identified from the Lebanese territory toward Israel territory. The IDF soldiers are currently responding with an artillery fire. Regional sources report the IDF said it intercepted several of them. While most landed in open field, things are steadily escalating towards Lebanon. So now Hezbollah has stuck their foot in this. This is what this is saying.
Israel has been engaged in a number of incursions into Lebanon and a Lebanese war. Okay, and Beirut was basically destroyed during the last Lebanese war. And most of the Lebanese don't want to be part of Hezbollah, and many of them are just Christians. They're not interested in all of it. And yet, guess who gets hurt the first? Because the Christians are farther towards the south, because more towards the north is closer to the Syrian capital, Damascus, but they come down to the south and they fire weapons into Israel. Israel responds, and Hezbollah runs away, and the Christians end up getting hurt. It's really a sad situation. But historically, over time, Gaza, the West Bank, and Lebanon are the biggest factors in incursions into Israel. Now, there's been some stuff from Syria, but Syria's never tried to come into Israel since the 70, or no, I'm sorry, since 1973, when they lost part of the Golan Heights.
Okay, I'm trying to. What happened to my video? I'm trying to pull up a video.
We have destabilization in Central Europe. We've got destabilization in Southwest Asia. We've got destabilization in central or the heart of Africa.
That's right.
And it with this with weak leadership, it encourages this. Remember, when you're talking about global power dynamics, if you leave a vacuum, it's going to be stepped into. And if governments can't get into those vacuums and make sure they're peaceful and safe, then rogue entities will go into those places, create their own hostile forces, and you have a breakout of hostilities. And we're going to see it. What's next? Drug smuggling of Indonesians into southern Philippines. You know, the Philippines have been fighting terrorists there for a while. That could blow up. Or, of course, we're still technically in a state of war with North Korea. That could blow up. All these places where there's
and then
flashpoint, like Panama, like the Suez Canal, all the straits, like the Strait of Hormuz and Persian Gulf, all these places, it only takes one mistake by one low-level military person, and things blow up into warfare.
And then Iran's supreme leader has strongly rejected any involvement in the Hamas movement surprise attack on Israel. The public maneuvering, they say, which involved Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, strikingly repeating his rejection of Iranian role 3 times in a 90-second span. And it follows controversial claims in the United States that Tehran helped on this October 7th attack, speaking on condition of a high-ranking Iranian source told Ahmadiyya Media that Khamenei's remarks, his first since Hamas offense, may have sparked by him seeing the direction of Israel's public diplomacy campaign, and maybe even the fact that they would strike Iran, rejecting concerns of an Israel attack as Khamenei's underlying motive. The source said the supreme leader's comments might be, it could be, they say, preemptive as opposed to reactive. He also he also suggested that the young Hamas kids and soldiers did a good job. And why should one give them the perfect justification they need for an attack? And at the same time, the source dismissed the notion that it being so explicit in rejecting the role in Hamas attack indicates sense of weakness as a part of Iran. So Iran,
So
there's
military operations are basically irrational, okay? And Iran has been acting irrationally towards Israel.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what he's saying is, well, it's great that these young people in Gaza are doing they're doing, but please don't be irrational towards us because we don't want to be struck as well.
In the meantime, they whisper under the breath. You know, William, in the meantime, they're over there and they're cheering, they're dancing, they're saying the same thing, gas them and behead them and kill them. They're all dancing over there. Not all of them. But they're that these high officials are whispering under their breath, get them. Yeah, that's Iran.
Well,
I can't see Iran being innocent.
They're doing that, but they also don't want to get bombed in the process.
And the other thing is, didn't Iran give $1 million for every shipment we sent of money we sent them? They gave Hezbollah and Hamas $1 million out of it. It's a rumor. I haven't really found anything.
They were sending money so so that suicide bombers' mothers get paid for life. They got like $1 million or something dollars, so that they can go ahead and give up their children, to these terrorism. So yeah, they were sending money based on the money that was given to them by the United States to basically shore up the terror operations of Gaza. Now everybody on the earth knows that. That's a military person, including Israel, Israel's Air Force, and now Iran saying, "Well, good job, but please don't bomb us."
Yeah.
It's a bit of international cowardice, if you will.
And the Pentagon has meanwhile warned both Iran and Hezbollah against jumping into the conflict. Well, now we're hearing that they have. There's into the Golan Heights, and then they fired upon them. And I was trying to find a video that I had, and it wasn't coming up on the Zero Hedge that I got it from.
Here's the problem with terrorists is you don't have operational control of them completely. So Hezbollah and Iran can be saying no, and a few terrorist operators saying, oh, yeah, they can't control them. And so a wider war can come just because they can't control their own operatives. That's what happens when you foment terrorism.
Yeah.
You have people become irrational towards a way of fighting an enemy. Then guess what? You lose control of those individuals, and you can't guarantee that their actions won't start a war that wipes you out. So it's a double-edged sword they're engaging in, because to get people engaged in terrorist activities, you have to brainwash them, and you can't just unwash them in a minute.
Yeah. Now, the IDF said they had mobilized over 300,000 troops and declared a full siege, halting the flow of water, food, electricity into Gaza totally on Monday. Now, the arrival of the USS Ford, which is carrying Air Wing, is accompanied by guided missile cruiser, the USS Normandy, and 4 U.S. Navy, Arleigh Burke class. I think I said, William, you probably know what.
Yeah, those are Arleigh Burke class destroyers. Now, the cruiser is bigger than destroyer. That's where the command staff goes.
Mm-hmm.
They have a lot more, they have better surveillance capabilities, command and control capabilities. They use that as the frontline defense, frontline capacity to ensure that our aircrafts aren't attacked, okay? And so the command staff are usually in those cruisers. Then the next smaller ship is a destroyer.
Yeah.
So like in the Gerald Ford Battle Group, you'll have a cruiser. They're actually in command of the task force. It's not the...
Yeah, there's 4 of those that Arleigh Burke class. There's with guided missile destroyers. There's 4 of them.
Yeah, they're a very lethal entity on their own. But the cruisers even right now in the U.S. Navy is an even more potent naval vessel.
They said that the strike group led by the Ford is capable of intelligence collection and long-range strikes. A senior U.S. defense official told me Monday when I called. Thank God I was able to get a hold of someone like that. Noting its arrival, the United States, he said, is going to respond to any contingencies and minimize the risk of a wilder conflict. So it's a standby thing. And they said it's kind of the same thing that was ordered for Taiwan when China starts to strike. So
That's
there,
the reason they send the aircraft carriers first. You know, they have the Marines and the air wings that can engage in sea to land assault. But I don't think what people know, but leaders do know in the world, that in the armed hulls of these ships, there's places they keep all their munitions. And in those munitions areas, they have literally all the weapons of the United States.
yeah.
Not like some and leave others behind. No, they have every possible tool in the toolbox.
And then they did freeze the 6 billion for Iran, but I get this: Biden is unfreezing it, and some are calling for a freeze in light of Hamas's attack, and using the attack as the reason to freeze the money, that he should not unfreeze it, even though he claims it's due to them. And they said your administration claims these funds are only available for humanitarian use, but the money we know for a fact is fungible, and there is a significant risk they could be used for Iran, Hamas, or against Israel. Moreover, allowing the 6 billion to flow into Iran's economy, even if the purpose is humanitarian aid, it allows the Iranian regime to relocate these funds and supporting terrorism. And that came from the Republican Congress, the RNC. They made that statement. Um,
This is what happens when you negotiate with terrorists. Until the Biden and Obama administration, we never negotiated with terrorists, ever. This is the reason, because as soon as you do, then you have these uh, standoff, uh, additional things, these ripples that happen, primary and secondary and tertiary things that happens when you negotiate with terrorists, just like when we President negotiated with the Taliban in Afghanistan. On our way out, one of them got cocky and blew up 13 of our servicemen
um,
and women. Sorry.
the IDF Major General Itai Veruv, he said this isn't war. It's not even a battlefield. It's a massacre. He says you see the babies and brutally butchered, their mothers, their fathers, in their bedrooms. The doors sometimes are booby trapped with grenades and gasoline, and some even.
We had some military that went rogue in Vietnam and committed terrible things. We called that thing the My Lai massacre. Well, what these folks are doing out of Gaza is the same thing as that. And the reason why the servicemen got in such trouble is because those actions move a military towards what we described yesterday. The gun is kicked off the air, and our sensors are terrified that we'll use the proper terminologies for what is happening.
He said it's something he's never seen in his life. We used to imagine our grandmothers and grandfathers during the um, pogroms in Europe. It's not been. It's not something that we have seen in recent history, and now it's right before our eyes, seeing grandmothers butchered to death, and even grenades underneath them. That the second you lift the bodies, it's blown up. Now, William,
Well,
when I heard about
uh,
this, wouldn't wouldn't the Hamas terrorists? This is something I think I heard was in Nam. They would hold on to a bomb or a couple grenades, and when they went to come up to get them, they would set them off and blow up everything. I mean, war
Yeah,
isn't
well, they
pretty.
would use either a suicide actor in the place to make sure to ensure that they hurt IDF soldiers, or they would do like the Germans did in World War II. Every time they would leave an area, they would booby trap the area. So you would, if you're leaving a building, you'd booby trap the door, and you'd leave landmines around the front near where the door entrance would be. That sort of thing.
Yeah, and they're bombing hospitals. Um, it's pretty horrific. They're infiltrating these homes and hospitals, or sending missiles to hit hospitals. Now they're
So
short on
Katusha
medicine.
rocks are not guided. They just shoot them in a direction at a certain azimuth of height,
Hmm.
and so these are very lethal rockets. And if any of them get through the dome, and right now Israel's asking for the United States to send multi-million-dollar intercept missiles to stop these very inexpensive Katusha type rockets that Gaza is and Hamas is using. And wherever those warheads hit, it's completely indiscriminate. So it could land in a school, it could land in a hospital, it could land, in the parliament, it could land at the dog pound, it could land in your house, it could land at the local theater. They they don't know where it'll land. Yet they're pushing up thousands and thousands of these rockets into the air.
Uh, IDF basically, they said with their soldiers they have sent to muster at the border, and not only that, but they said these terrorists are all throughout Israel and they're hiding, mostly in Gaza. He said in the southern part. He also said they have to go in. Netanyahu said we just have to, and with we have to do a ground operation that will be long and a difficult war. So, um,
So everybody has to serve for 2 years, and those who serve for 2 years, and then for the next 2 years, they're coming back to the military. So everybody has 2 years of military
oh,
doctrine.
William, hold on, you're breaking up really bad. You tried, huh?
Okay,
Um, you're breaking up really bad, and I'm not sure why. So, Linda, you might have to listen to the whole thing. We have a lot of um, info that I got from all over, IDF and Iran and Netanyahu. And this is a live picture of Gaza live. I have noticed, William, in the morning and or early morning before the sun comes up and late at night is when the missiles start flying. And I've been keeping it on my phone, and my poor phone has been drained. Um, but I don't know why William is breaking up.
is this
I,
better?
yes, there you go. There you go. Um, um, I think this show's way better tonight than last night. Um, Even though we did mention some biblical stuff, I think they, I don't know. We're not sure why they took the show, but um, it had a lot of info in it. But tonight we got up to date info. And, the thing is, William, we seen what happened in the Kfar Aza, and where they butchered the kids and they were butchering up the old ladies. And I mean, what they did to the women, the men, they just basically, I'm hearing they just shoot them in the head and get rid of them
Well,
quick.
we've been very careful tonight to make sure we haven't added anything, and we're only saying what other news outlets uh,
they said the same
Huge.
thing was happening in Ashkelon. I know a lot of people don't really know where these places are, but they said it isn't just happening in Kfar Aza. With the butchering people, they're going house to house. They're doing it in all of the cities, folks. It isn't just one particular little city where they're going in and butchering people. And of course, we told you about the booby traps that with grenades that they're uh, laying in wait for the Israeli soldiers and the IDF to go in, and they're trying to kill them. And I agree,
So
this is a
three of the
massacre.
southern cities, three of the southern cities, after 4 days of fighting, are still in those cities fighting IDF troops. So there's still combat going on in the
Yeah,
three southern cities.
yeah. And then as we move to I believe there was 5 cities. I only grabbed New York, but there's 5 cities here that are full of um, um, oh gosh, ISIS and the Iranians and cartel. And me and this is what me and Lee's been talking about. And I think me and Lee's going to go into this big time on Thursday. And now Mary said they will do it here too. Well, of course, that's what they're setting up for. There are so many, when you look at them chanting "Gas the Jews," and it was a huge um, group of supporters for this. And then, and even our own government, they said, William, 2 out of 3 Democrats. And folks, you got to get these guys out. 2 out of 3 Democrats are for what Hamas is doing and support the Palestinian terrorists. That's scary. You got to wonder,
That's race. It's racism.
uh, and did everybody in the United States realize this? That this is, um, uh, oh boy, oh looky here, somebody busted in. Um, uh, um, we got to vote these people out. 2 out of 3. That is about 70. I'm gonna go light on it. 60% of our Democrats are for supporting the Palestinian terrorists and getting them food and money and to take care of them. That's Mary's right. This is scary. They will do it here. If they've got the support of our government, they will do it here. And that's kind of
Yeah,
where I wanted to move on to.
it's not a matter of if, it'll just be a matter of time.
Yeah, yeah, the right time, the right place. And during 9/11, we had T-Lob and Omar saying, "Oh, let's not." It wasn't a big deal. It was to us though, and these are our politicians that have turned against us, turned against America, and they are getting. They call it the Generation Z, and then the LGBTQ TUVWXZ, whatever
It's
people are.
basically people that don't understand and don't know about history.
Yeah. And the Generation Z, the younger people today, don't really remember 9/11. And when I heard that, I wanted to go, I'm sorry, I wanted to go choke her. Um, we have got to, folks, we have got to get these politicians out. I mean, T-Lob with a Palestinian flag outside her office. Someone need to go rip it up, grab it down, not rip it up, but take it into her and say this is inappropriate. No one stands up to these people. What'd you say you'd like to debate her?
I'd love to debate her openly in Main Street press. I would love to get her to say what she really thinks. I think it would be shocking. It would be horrible. Yeah.
Um, um, Does anybody have questions about anything I said tonight? Because I mean, I had a really big report, and uh, there's some other type of news. Biden's brother has been caught um, putting naked pictures on a dating site. But I mean, I really don't want to go in there. I'd rather stick with the war. But that just goes to tell you we have got the most, I mean, we're corrupt. I mean, we talk about Venezuela, we talk about Ukraine, but we have got some really corrupt politicians in office. And now T-Lob with that flag. And then I said earlier, she was handing out little support flags is what they is how it was mentioned to me, but they're
We need
Palestinian
to quit.
flags and
We need
Hamas
to quit
flags.
pushing. We need to quit pushing corrupt people to the top. Leave corrupt people out to do other things, and put people in that can espouse more, at least espouse moral arguments, right? In office, these people don't even espouse moral arguments.
Yeah, Linda asked of himself, and I know what she's talking about. Yes, it was um, James Biden. Is that, I think, the brother's name? I might have.
Yes,
Yes, he was putting naked pictures of himself on a dating site. Himself. Good grief. I'm old. I wouldn't. I don't even want to think. I don't even want to think of that picture. He's older than Biden, I believe. So, and I'm still watching, and Gaza Live is still very calm. Um, and they say um, they will not hand over hostages until the fighting ends. And if they start hurting or killing or assassinating any of the hostages that the IDF had, they said there'll be nowhere to hide in Gaza for anybody. So yeah,
so
they're making threats.
some of these hostages are Americans, and Americans, due to our Constitution and our Declaration of Independence, have a dispensation put on them by the U.S. government, in that if one of them are attacked innocently, we consider that attack on all of our innocence.
Hmm.
And if we believe that our people are going to be killed or tortured, that gives us the immediate right to go to war. So if I were the Hamas, I would make sure those people were completely out of my purview. I would turn them over to Israel immediately. I would do anything to make sure that at least those 6 Americans are out, because I wouldn't want to take on the United States alone.
See, my first thing would be the children. Not necessarily the Americans. I think they now. I have a question about a little bit after I mention this, William. I want the children first and the older people. But now, haven't they basically broke the Geneva Convention? That's something I haven't heard anybody mention.
Yet we had a convention after World War II, debating what atrocities, what munitions could or couldn't be used in the future, who was guilty of what happened in World War II. They called it the Geneva Convention. Well, we're seeing these atrocities once again.
Hmm.
So they are in violation of the Geneva Convention, in that they're attacking old people, women, and children. That's an absolute no-no to target them.
Um, Now, Hamas tells Israel civilians to get out of Ashkelon immediately and expect airstrikes. So this is just now coming over. I got a live ticker going, folks, so that I could see um, what's going on. Live up to date for you guys, as well as this live picture of Gaza. So, William, the hostages. Now, they said nothing till the end, but I really do believe that I have a bad feeling that most of the kids and old people and men are dead. Probably even Americans. They don't care. They don't care.
My fear is that they have to live through something worse than death, and I fear that's happening now.
Well, now I know I can't remember which town it was, but they were burning people alive. They were
Yeah,
pouring
that's
gasoline and burning them alive. Now, you
that's
know
a
where they
form of
did
torture.
that at? Do you remember the last time we heard about something like that was Black Hawk Down? At what, Somalia? At Black Hawk Down? Where they were setting
Mm-hmm.
people on fire.
Yeah, General Adid commanded that, and that's a form of torture, and
Oh,
that's part of what what was described in that term that we used that had the letter G yesterday.
yeah, yeah. And it's it's like the IDF general said that this isn't a war. This is a massacre. I think we can get away with that one. We said something else yesterday, and I think that's why the show got taken. Um, uh,
War is the absolute projection of political will. It's the last thing politicians, governments have to enforce their rule of law. Okay,
mhm.
but that doesn't require slaughtering of civilians. It's never required slaughtering of civilians. But what's happening here isn't about politics. This is just about revenge on an entire population.
Yeah. Well, see, they were saying that too today on one of the. Um, they were talking with. I want to say it's an ambassador. Um, I believe he was an ambassador, and that's kind of what he was mentioning is that this whole thing is um, uh,
Well,
uh,
it's gone beyond the pale.
yeah. Well, I can't really
And if
say
you
what
want
he
to know what
said.
they're engaging is, if you want to know what they're engaging is, Google Pol Pot and what Pol Pot did, and that's what we're seeing.
Yeah. And then, also the fact that they're not even reporting it on the news. They say if Hezbollah attacks. Now, I read an article from the IDF, or a statement, not an article, a statement from the IDF saying that Hezbollah was firing. They don't know if it's Hezbollah or what they call Iran calls them renegade um, extremists. Is that what he calls them, William?
Right, right. They're terrorists that in their forces that they can no longer control.
Yeah. So they're up there in Syria, and I think they're engaging in this too. So it's Hezbollah, then it's them, and ISIS is in Syria. So it could be, Syria or Hezbollah could say, well, it wasn't us, it was one of these other Islamic extremist terrorist groups.
Even the Islamic extremists realize what Hamas is engaged in is is a is a step too far, and that's why they're calling their own people that engage Israel right now renegades. Not because they're attacking Israel; they have no problem with that at all.
Mm-hmm.
But that they're attacking Israel at the same time Hamas is engaging in these vile uh, war crimes.
Yeah.
They know that they could be targeted by the United States over that.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you engage in those types of atrocities like Pol Pot, the United States and all governments, according to the United Nations, have the right and responsibility to go to war and stop it.
Yeah. So, William, do you have anything extra? I know I took up a lot of with my stuff. Um,
So I'm a little bit upset with our president. This is why. Is that this started at 11 o'clock at night, and the White House staff, uh, likely because of direction, did not awake and tell the president what was going on until a full 9 hours later.
and didn't you have a
So,
barbecue the following day and just didn't
so
respond?
the guy that has the keys to our nuclear retaliatory response
Wasn't woke up.
wasn't woke up.
That's something to think about, folks. If you heard William, what he said, it started, and it could have easily started into a missile launch at one of our bases over there, or even something sent here. And no, they didn't want to awaken our president. Maybe
See,
this
what's
wasn't
important is
important
when these
enough.
things happen. What's important is when these things happen, we have military people out in the field in
Mm-mm.
those areas
This is
nearby,
horrible.
and the president hasn't given them a change of what they call rules of conduct, ROE. So unless our military has rules of conduct, they that are either more restrictive or less restrictive, the United States is now can't preemptively react to things going on out in the field because the order has to come from the president.
Mhm. So, um, if you don't have anything else, that is it for the show, and we got more tomorrow, folks. This is updates of just yesterday and today. I believe there's more coming. I will put a live stream up on Facebook for anybody that wants a good um, live stream of Gaza, and it does have um, current important news that runs the ticker on the bottom. So I will run that for
We're
everybody.
getting very much better information out of this war right now than we're getting out of the Ukrainian war.
Yeah,
And at least I'm glad to see that here. But it's going to go away pretty quick. They're going to try to sweep it under the rug.
yeah. Um, so that's it for the show, and um, Christian leaders and churches around the globe are asking, did everybody say a prayer for everybody in Israel? Um, and whether you pray for the bad guys, or pray for the
Well,
Christians, the
we're
Jews.
taught to pray for our enemies, even
Hmm.
our enemies, that they won't engage in things that will be bad for them in the long term, right?
Yeah. So, but they're asking for that, and Investigator News is asking for you to pray for Israel, and that um, I don't want
So both sides could be equitable at least.
yeah, and for this to end soon, um, and have peace come upon Israel. Um, please subscribe and hit that like button, the thumbs up, and maybe a heart. I don't know, smiley faces, whatever you feel that you want to give us. And we appreciate your support, and we appreciate our viewers and the new viewers. And tomorrow, me and William will be back with another World War III report. I told William, boy, it's going to be a 3 day thing. Um, and then, of course, I'll have Lee on Thursday. And me and Lee might be doing the same thing. Um, like I said, you guys say the prayers for Israel. And um, if you are not getting notified, hit that bell so it'll reset you up for it. It's going to be very important. This is going to be a long week. And it will, as much news as we get, we'll give it out tomorrow night. Um, so, with that, William, thank you very much. Um,
You're welcome.
and boy, we'll see you tomorrow, Mr. William. And and hopefully something can be done and we could stop Hamas. And with that, everybody, we will definitely see you tomorrow. We will have World War III, but we will always have the weather and lifestyle news. Everyone, I have a safe uh, evening.
Well, it's a report. It's not World War Three. It's just
That's
World War
true.
Three
And
report.
not yet. It's just updates and report on Israel at this point. So we're, everybody says World War III, and we're waiting. This will die down. We hope, and it doesn't look like Ukraine is going too much farther. And then we still have to keep our hopes and prayers that China won't attack Taiwan. So, boy, the world is definitely unrest. So, all right. I want to thank everyone and subscribe and like and ring that bell. And we'll see you tomorrow. Thanks again, William.
Bye bye.